Everybody, welcome to one more round. Today I'm very excited. I've got a good friend of mine here. We're both in the same marketing space. We do different things. So we're going to discuss that, but also being young people in business. And there's going to be a lot of great things come out of this conversation. But if you get something out of this conversation, please share it out with a friend, an entrepreneur, somebody that runs their own business. I think this will be compelling for them, and they'll be able to learn something. So with that, I got my friend Fann here.
Great to be here. No, I'm super excited. And I've kind of wanted to be on this for a while, and I love doing these type of things. I think it's great to collab. And as we talk to, we're in the same field. We do some different things and things like that we'll talk about. So I'm super excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about how a lot of people, if they're in the same industry, they just think they're competing. And the reality is if guys like you and I get together, there's a chance that I'm going to get a nugget from you, you're going to get a nugget from me, and now we're both better for it.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of business out there for everybody.
100%. There's small businesses and businesses everywhere for us, and I think that is a huge thing in our field is that egotistic and don't want to talk, they think they know everything or they try to compete. And it's all about, in this field, collaboration and learning. And that's, I think, the one thing in today's day and age is from a simple conversation with someone else in the field, you can learn something to help your own agency.
Absolutely.
And I think that's 100%. Because like I said, especially if you're, if you have a business and you have a good relationship with them, like I said, you want to bring that extra value of knowing new things and things like that. So I think it's really important.
Exactly. And I mean, just to give you guys an idea, I literally just hired his company to do some lead gen for our IV business.
Yep.
Because those are things that we don't do on the organic side.
Same thing with us with hiring you for Google Ads and stuff like that. Because my agency obviously focuses more on the organic, but we try to be that one-stop shop. So clients come over and they do need paid ads and stuff like that. I'll definitely be using you guys for sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So we met, about three or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it was funny because I remember when we met at that gigantic house out in Scottsdale.
Yep.
And I think it was an event for the Homeowners Alliance.
Yep. Yeah.
And what was interesting was this is like the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
It's happening. And we had all met together, and I think almost everybody there, except for me anyway, I don't know if you got COVID from that one meeting.
Yeah, probably.
But when we were there, I remember we were having a conversation, and you were telling me a little bit about what you did. I think Dylan introduced us.
Yeah.
And you had a client that was in like the blinds industry.
Yeah, window coverings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you were telling me about some of the results you're getting, which I'm like, man, this is awesome. So you're one of the smartest marketing people that I know. Certainly it's your age, and I honestly do not say that. I'm very critical of our industry.
No, I appreciate it.
Our industry is full of shysters and people that really just take people's money
100%.
and don't care if they give them any return. It pisses me off to no end.
Yeah.
But it's also good because that's why we're able to retain so many customers for such a long period of time, because there are so many people. But like, do you experience this too, to where every time you're sitting down with a new customer, you literally have to talk them off the ledge because they've had such a bad experience?
Yeah, it's funny because every single day when I talk to these business owners, small businesses, they say the same thing and they make it seem like they're the only ones that have been through it. I've spent so much money, I'm getting drained, I've done marketing, I've been on contracts, and I try to tell them, I'm like, look, hopefully that you take this good, but every business that I work with, they go through something like this, right? And that's kind of how I started my agency because, as well, you meet a lot of these businesses and you ask any business owner that's been in business for a while, they've done the marketing route and they get scared from it. And that's why when you tell someone you're in marketing, they kind of get a little of that ick, right? They're like, oh, here's another marketer, or social media.
They cover their wallet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing and that's why I try to go, for me, I'm a strategist and I utilize the platform of social media. If there's other ways and things like that, I'll figure it out. But I think that is a huge thing is that these small business owners, they have a price. When a marketer meets them, and that's the problem, is they just have a price. They put them on a 3-month agreement. They say that you're not going to get results for 3 months and stuff like that, and they burn through their wallet. And that's the thing that I realize why I focus on organic a lot is because most small business owners, when they open up a business or whatever, they don't have the funds for not only a high retainer, but then high ad spend. And that's the problem is, and then if you're not generating results within the first couple months, they're not going to have any money.
Right.
And that's the problem is with a lot of these small business owners. And that's how I started. And that's kind of where the window coverings came into play. And I tell the story, and if I can tell it,
Please.
It was interesting because the whole thing with Vincent with Scottsdale Window Coverings, was what took my business off the map and gave me confidence of, holy cow, I can generate results for clients like that. And, he came to me, and just like a business owner, he was like, look, I have this much budget, and if you don't get me results with this budget, then I will not go the next month. And I thought that was unheard of at that time. Okay, you don't have an ad budget whatsoever. I have to think outside the box to get you one deal that will keep me going. And that's where it's funny, because in that time, I was on my girlfriend's account, and this kind of goes into the organic play. And that's where I kind of started, and we'll get into that, the Facebook groups. And I taught myself how to generate leads organically very fast within the first month to help these businesses grow and just think outside the box. And that's kind of where the window coverings came into play and stuff like that. And I can go more into that, but that is just a huge thing. It's like these businesses just burn. And as well, they don't think about marketing a lot of times. They don't think about when you open up a business, those are the things that you need. So there's kind of that bridge of education as well that you need to share with businesses that we go through a lot.
Right. And every business needs leads. They need leads so that they can have somebody to sell to.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have the best sales team in the world, but if they don't have anybody to talk to, then you got a problem. Right? So that's why marketing is something that everybody should really be thinking about who owns a business. And hiring experts. And you don't just hire. Here's what I always recommend. You don't hire experts just to let them do their thing and not learn anything yourself. No, if you own the business, you need to understand what they're doing so that you can then measure the results correctly.
You couldn't have said that better. That was obviously, every business owner has their own philosophy of how, and culture of how, the culture that they want to have within their business, right? And that was a huge thing that was brought to me by my family. And when I was starting this business is I wanted to be able to do every single role, to be able to know what is, what's the right thing to do and stuff like that. There's a lot of business owners that want to just be business owners, and they want to be, it's actually funny. One of my clients sent me this picture, and this picture had two different type of owners of businesses. You have someone that is holding people behind them, and the people are moving him forward, or you have the leader bringing all the people. And he's like, which business owner do you want to be? And that was a huge thing, because that's a part of my business. Even though I'm not the best at videography, or I'm not the best at certain things, I've done every single role that I try to hire for. And I think that's a huge thing. I mean, if you look at the owner of Home Depot, or you look at major entrepreneurs, they've worked from the ground up, right? They've swept the floors. They've done those things because you understand how hard it is and what it takes to get to where you want to go. I think that's a huge thing, especially with younger business owners too, is to understand that,
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because I think back when I started my agency, and it literally started because I didn't want to work in corporate America anymore, right? And I had basically started doing anything I could. I would do graphic design. Was I good at it? No, I didn't know how to use Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, but I learned. Now, eventually I hired someone, but I at least understood the principles. I started to learn design theory and those types of things. I started to build websites, and I understood how that worked. Did pay-per-click advertising. I did every one of those steps. So to your point, when I hire people, I know what their job is.
Exactly.
And I hope that I can get them even above where I was in their job, but it's important that you know how things work.
Yeah, and obviously that comes with the selling process when you're trying to sell a client, to know what that product is and how it works and stuff like that. But as well, understanding when you hire someone what it takes to be proficient at it, right? And I think that is a huge thing, when I hire, when I have my videographers or my SEO person or whatever, like I said, to know how much the time it takes to do that type of stuff and things like that. When you just hire people and you want to be a business owner, that's where you get people that may not respect you as much. You lose that respect. The culture is not there. I just have, I've seen that firsthand, whereas there's that difference. And especially in today's day and age, you go through influx to where especially with COVID and stuff like that, having that knowledge base, I feel like gets you a long way. Because, there might be a time where someone gets sick and you might need to do it yourself as the owner, right? You might need to do it.
Step in.
And that's a huge thing for me. It's like, I've gone through that COVID and stuff like that, to where, or a client needed something like that and my person was out, who else is going to do it besides the owner of the business? I mean, so.
No, and that's business owner mentality right there.
But I'm just telling you, that is something I meet every day, especially my age group and things like that, is just people they come out of college or they whatever, and they just want to be business owners. They want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't really understand what that is. and they just want to do it because they hear about it or they know someone or they hear about marketing and I can do social media and just hire people. And I think it's just, a different approach for sure.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
People like to skip steps.
Yep.
And you got to, when you start a business, you really need to take the right steps.
Yeah.
Set it up properly, understand what
crawl before you ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, working in corporate America or in a job for a little while is usually a really good, smart thing to do.
Yeah, it's funny because I go back and forth of this, and it's, it's a give or take. I started this while, my agency while I was in college. Mm-hmm. And what was funny is I look back now and I look at things of, there's a lot of mistakes that I've made that if I went to go work for someone for a couple years, I would have not made. At the same time, I do believe in practical experience and making mistakes and learning from those. Because when I turned 18, I actually got my real estate license and I was doing real estate. And I think if I could tell anyone the smartest thing to do, I think right when you turn 18, you should learn practical experience. Go get your insurance license, do real estate, learn something to learn how to talk to people.
Yes.
Because I think in our field, one of the things that is probably, the thing that you need to learn the most is know who you're talking to. Mm-hmm. Because every business that you work with has a different way about communication. Their processes are different. And that's the problem that I've learned in the marketing field is having packages and having things that this isn't what we're going to do and things like that. You have no idea about their structure. You need to learn about them. You need to ask them questions and things like that. You need to learn their personalities. Are they the type of business that wants to be told what to do, or are they the type of business that wants you to listen to them and then build a strategy around what they want to do, right? And I think that's a huge thing that I've learned in this field and stuff like that. But I do think, I look back at those type of things. And I remember if I went to go work for someone and that's been in the field, and I think that's why today I meet with, people that have been vested in the marketing field for a long time because I'm still learning and a sponge, right?
I'm still learning, man.
Exactly.
I'm
you have to be.
15 years in, I'm still learning every day.
Yeah.
But I like what you're saying about the communication piece because people in our industry, when they communicate, what we do is actually quite complex.
Yeah.
With marketing to execute on every, different avenue of it, it's quite complex.
Yeah.
Now, the customer doesn't know all the stuff that has to happen. They don't necessarily care either. So you got to make sure when you're explaining to them about, number one, find out what they want.
Yeah.
And you asked me too, like how many leads do you need to make this profitable?
Yeah.
And I told you. And you got to find out what that customer wants before you start a campaign. So then you have a benchmark to go after. And then you explain to them, okay, cool. Here's how the leads are going to come in. Do you have a follow-up system in place? How do you, what is your average conversion of leads that you get? So you can start understanding when you're having those 2-week meetings, those 1-week meetings with them, you can explain, here's what's going on, here's the leads that came in, and you know what they're looking for, so you can always go back to that goal and that benchmark. So many people try to confuse and dazzle these guys with what's all going on, the bells and whistles, and the reality is they don't care. They want leads to come in, and they need to know frequency.
That's kind of why, it's interesting in my field, a lot of my clients are home service-based clients, mom and pop that are usually, the owners are the ones in the field, right? Mm-hmm. The plumbers that are out there. And so you have to break it down because most of these business owners, they care about one thing, and it's ROI. That's all they care about. You can be doing 100 things, but if you're not getting the ROI for them that they see at the end of the day, they don't care, right? So kind of how I've learned is you have to have, in marketing, you have to have like a relationship manager, someone that can bridge the gap between your content team and your data team and the lead gen team for someone to properly explain it to that plumber that can get it and understand them. Because strategists and content people cannot speak sometimes the language.
Overcomplicated.
And it's the same thing with me. There's some clients that I'm like, the way that I talk, you're just not going to understand and things like that. So that's a huge thing of, you got to understand the business and you got to understand the person that you're talking to. And I think that's a huge thing why going to work for someone or learning practical experience for a while is really good, because obviously you don't learn those techniques in school and those skill sets in school. And like I said, I went to school for political science and I really taught myself everything outside of school. And I've made so many mistakes and things like that and costed relationships, but it's helped me, and you learn from those to build on, and things like that. But I totally agree is that you have to have that relationship manager to be able to communicate and understand and ask those questions. Because like I said, that's what I've learned is in my field, you got to ask those questions of, look, what is going to make, I offer 3 forms of value: lead generation, content creation, social media management. What's the value that you put on there? If you're going to only value lead generation, why am I offering social media management? I'm going to put my team on social media management. They're going to think they're doing an awesome job, but then the leads are suffering, but you don't want to stay with us. Yeah. And that's kind of, over time, I've learned, look, let's put our focus here and then add on top of that later on. Totally. And stuff like that.
Finding out what's important to them is extremely important. Now, just so the audience has a little flavor, give me some of the success stories you've done over the years.
Yeah, there's a lot. So obviously, when I started this business, and this is from, a smaller scale to a bigger scale, I started when I was my junior, senior year in college at NAU, and I was going down from NAU to Scottsdale to do real estate deals to pay for my school. And just doing like small rental deals of $300, $250 to pay for my apartment. And there was a small cafe called Aloe Cafe. And this cafe was a small, I fell in love with the owner because every time I went in there, he was always there, but there was no one ever going in there. And I was like practically the only person, but he would come up to me, serve me different food items, tell me where they came from and things like that. But I noticed he had no SEO. He had no social media, no nothing to build that brand awareness. And so I went up to him and I said, look, I'm a broke college student. I know nothing about marketing, but give me 3 months and I'll teach myself everything. I'll teach myself how to code. I'll teach myself how to build your website. I practically took down his website probably 8 to 10 times within the process. And in 3 months, that's kind of where it started. I tripled his sales. And it was one of the best feelings. That feeling made me realize that this is my purpose. And I think that's a huge lesson in this thing. It's like, don't just do marketing to do marketing because you see a dollar bill. Yes. That's just in any business. Find what you love to do and turn that into a business. And I think that's the great thing about the environment. We were talking about this off air. The environment that we live in is that if you find something you love to do, someone will pay for it. Like there's so many things that are unbelievable. And like I said, that people will pay for in this world, that they see the value. Yeah. So that was the start of my success. And the Scottsdale window coverings is what kind of took that off the map to where, what happened was, and going back to that story, I was sitting there in that first month trying to figure out how do I get him a shade, shutter, or blind deal within the first month and make the retainer back so that he can use that to pay for my next month. And it was day 26, and still I had no idea what I was doing. And I was on my girlfriend's account, she was a part of a Scottsdale mom group. And this mom referred a company, and it got all these moms to say, oh my God, send me their information, I need that too. So I went up and I said, look, send me over a shade that you just installed. Let me try this. I did a recommendation for them. In that one post alone, he did $70,000 to $80,000 in that one post. And what was crazy is there was no cost per lead. It was just me, creativity through a Facebook group. And it just created this thing because then he got more referrals off that post and things like that. So that was a huge success story because, he grew that organically and was generating hundreds of thousands of dollars through this model of me getting in more groups, creating more dummy accounts to get in these groups and things like that. And I've taken that and done other things, like I have a window business that does $150,000 to $200,000 a month just through Facebook groups alone. Wow. No ad spend whatsoever. So obviously it ranges. I just have a different type of clients and stuff like that with plumbers and successes. But I would say, I have a nurse that does physical therapy. And that was a huge thing. It was interesting. When I met her, she was a single mom. She was a part of a contract that started at $1,500. The next month jumps to $2,500. And then the next month jumps to $3,200 without any results. That's just her contract that she had to sign because she was told to do it. She was in the second month, no results whatsoever. And she's stuck with this bill. And so I obviously had to figure out a way to get in there and help her. And it was honestly one of the best feelings because I literally made all her money back within the first couple weeks through different Facebook groups and stuff like that with surprise moms and different things. And that was another huge success. So across the board, generating results that fast is just a huge success for these businesses to be able to put that money back in to reinvest for their business and marketing.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the whole point. So,
You know, you hit on something as you were talking. I was thinking about one of the most rewarding things to me about what we do. Like,
yeah.
I've literally watched some of these customers that have become friends, right? I've watched them become millionaires. And that's not even a joke. I've literally started with, one of my attorneys. I think he hired me as soon as he started his practice.
Yeah.
And I watched him from zero to multimillionaire.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen time after time after time.
Yeah.
And it's so rewarding because it's like, what you were doing is moving the needle, not only for them, but also for the people that work for them. So it's like the work we do has a ripple effect.
You're
really like
having that and being a part. I mean, it's all about the process, right? And I think about that all the time. And I think that was a huge thing for me. It's like that if you are willing to sacrifice and be a part of that process and that feeling at the end of the day, like I said, I think that's one of the things that I got is just, I was fulfilled by, holy cow, I just saw this guy in one area and now he's over here. And I was a part of that and I helped him do that. I think that's the most fulfilling thing for me. And that's why I believe it's my purpose. And no matter what we go through, because there's going to be times that are tough, there's going to be things like that. At the end of the day, that's my purpose. And I'm going to find a way to fulfill that and work with businesses. And I think that's why it's like, I don't need to be a salesperson. If you really believe in what you do, the customers will be there. And, like I said, it's one of those things like, if you're good at what you do, the money will come. Yeah. Right?
Well, you can sell. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's something I've learned about you is
Yeah.
you sell without selling. Right?
That's what I try to do. And I think
Because
that's important.
you say, hey, here's the results we can get you.
Yeah.
You even said, hey, if we don't get you those results, money back guarantee. That's confidence.
Yeah.
And that's we do the same thing. Like I'm very confident in our abilities. Like that's why we don't have contracts.
Yeah.
Don't need them.
Yeah.
I've had customers now for literally a decade.
Yeah.
Multiples of them. And it's like, why would I put a contract when I know we're going to get you results as long as you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And calling those leads.
I think it's too. It's like, especially and what and you obviously know, but what I've dealt with and I've seen in my own agency, it's that especially in the field of marketing, when you're hiring people younger and stuff like that, the respect level that you have for your manager or whatever, and they're telling you what to do, but they don't really know what it takes to get that job done. How can you have long-term respect for that person? I mean, it's just natural for the human being not to have that respect working for someone. I think there was a thing that came out, and we could talk about this, but it's like there's a thing that just came out that the number one reason why people leave jobs is because of their boss.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a huge thing of respect. Like, a lot of bosses don't want to be there. They don't want to put in the work. And I think that's a huge thing of what I try to be. I try to be the first one there, the last one to leave, and set that precedent for the team and stuff like that.
And like you have to. It's so important that people know what they're going to get with you.
Yeah.
When you're the boss, they need to know what they're going to get with you every single day.
Yeah.
You can't have a crazy emotional swing when, they don't need to know that your cash flow maybe sucks at the moment or, something's going wrong in maybe your relationship side. They need to see someone who's consistent, who's positive, who is painting a vision of where the company's going. And that gives them direction of, hey, what I do matters. And it's part of that. I see so many times people that are, let's just say, emotionally wide swings, right?
Yeah.
So, they just 1 minute they're happy, the next minute they're freaking out about something.
Yeah.
And it's like you feel that energy.
Yeah.
I would never work for somebody when I'm feeling that energy. I would bounce. That's why people leave, good jobs as far as like pay and even what they're doing and being knowledgeable, but they leave it because the person that they're working for is a basket case or doesn't understand the task at hand because they've never done it.
Yep.
So it's very important.
Yeah, and I think especially in the field of marketing, there's always hiccups all the time. There's always things that need to get done last minute, right?
Yep.
And if you have a team that's if you sacrifice for the team and they know and they have that respect for you, it's just like with my daily managers or my content team. I have a client that literally had to have us edit something at like 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night. I knew because of the buy-in that I had with the team that I could ask them to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I didn't have that respect level, they don't technically really need to do it. It's off hours, right? So I think that's a huge thing in our field that I've just learned is that having that respect from your team, that they know that you put in more hours and that you put in the work and stuff like that just buys you more freedom to have help and stuff like that. And I think it's a huge thing in this field for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you had a question before we started this about hiring.
Yeah.
What was that? I want to talk
Yeah,
about that.
so it's a question that I've been going obviously back and forth because, I have 16 employees, and obviously I go back and forth of figuring out, especially in this field, and that's why I asked you, because obviously I'm a young business owner learning the processes of being a business owner, is do you hire people that you know are smarter than you, that are more talented? You can obviously see it, smarter than you, or do you hire someone that you can train and figure out that way? Because I balance it out, right? It's like I've heard from most people that you want to hire those people and stuff like that, but in my field, in my business, I'm the ultimate strategist for businesses. So there's that thing that I try to go back and forth on, and I kind of wanted your take on that.
Yeah, and as I've had a minute to think about it, so one thing that Eric and I always talk about, we're always looking for talent, always. And what talent specifically, what we're looking for is we're looking for capacity of a specific trait that they can bring to the table. Could be someone that you bring in for management, could be a talented salesperson, could be a talented PPC manager, could just be someone that's talented at administrative stuff, right? But what I always hire for and what I look for, number one, they have to have a great attitude. Like if somebody has a bad attitude, I can't teach that.
Yeah.
And I can't give them enough Dale Carnegie, to get them to have a good attitude. So as long as they have a good attitude, great. That's step one. Second is I hire for capacity, right? I look at if this person was able to have my knowledge and I was able to get them trained up on this specific thing, do they have the capacity to do it as good as me or better?
Yeah.
And if I think they have the capacity, that's something that I look at. They don't have to necessarily be smarter than me, because I'm probably smarter than most people in one area and not as smart in some areas, right?
Yeah.
So I look for capacity of can they do this skill and be better than me at it, because I want to replace myself out of it.
Yeah.
And you want the company to be in better hands.
Yeah.
So that's what I always look for. And things that I do when I hire, I'll ask questions about, hey, have you ever experienced these types of things, so that they can tell me a story and I can listen to how they're communicating with me. Because I find that people that are good at communicating typically can learn things pretty well.
Yeah.
Because that's a gathering of information that they're obviously spitting out. They're giving you feedback on what you just asked for. So those are some different things that I try to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's, like I said, it's one of those things that I just, obviously, and every even marketing company is different within, what they do and how their culture is and stuff like that. And obviously for me, starting the business and stuff like that and owning it, I am, my role is the strategist, right? I'm not the best operator of hiring, firing, doing all those different type of things, but obviously you have to make those decisions. But that's where, for me, especially hiring people that are managing the accounts for me, that's where it's like, do I want to hire someone that thinks that they're a better strategist than me, or do I not, to where I can teach them of what our process is with these clients and stuff like that? And I feel like there's a balance in ways, right? I feel like the talent, it's easy if I was like wanting to hire someone to do Facebook paid ads. I'm going to want to hire someone that knows a lot more than me with that. But I think when it comes to that organic strategy and stuff like that, I think getting that different perspective, that's where I feel like as well it comes into the play of like not feeling like I know it all, because you just can't in this field. Like in every area of marketing, you can't feel like, you have to be a sponge. That's why you try to go to the different, things that happen. I know that there was just like a marketing world or something like that just happened that goes over. And as you just said too, Facebook changes their algorithm like every other week, right? And you have to be on top of those trends and stuff like that. If you're doing the same thing that you were 5 years ago, you are not benefiting your clients and you're not growing.
Yeah, and chances are you're not getting the same return you were 5 years
Exactly.
ago. They're always changing. Google's the same way. Like they constantly update how you can run Google ads. They add things like local service ads and figuring that out. It's like completely separate from the normal Google ads. And if you don't know how they work, operate, then you're missing out, especially if you're in the home service world or the professional world, because they show up at the top. Like that kind of stuff is important. Always be learning. Right now, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, AI is starting to really get in the marketing world's kitchen. That's the way I would put it, because it's going to replace certain jobs, but it's also going to allow us to do more and better work for our customers in certain ways. So like, what are some of your thoughts on AI, and have you used any of it yet?
Yeah, so obviously, obviously we were talking about it too with like ChatGPT and stuff like that. And there's obviously a ton of different platforms and different areas of marketing that we try to utilize. I mean, it's the same thing even, for Facebook groups or for posting. Obviously, there's different things that can do that for you that we're learning. There's some that are not. Obviously, at the end of the day, you always, in my opinion, have to have someone that's going to manage that for you, right? As well as to communicate that to the client, right? Because it does obviously, I feel like in the time still, if we're talking about business owners, they freak out over AI. So you have to have that, I feel like, person. It's just like if you're going to use someone overseas, it might be cheaper, it might be different, but having that relationship manager is important. But I do think like the AI is just amazing of what the different type of things. And I think in our space too, it's not about how many hours you put in. It's about how fast can you get it done, right? To move on to the next thing. And I think all AI does is help you do that faster, right? And I think that's the thing is, it's like, especially in marketing, it's probably one of the most important things ever. And it's just, there's new things coming out every single day, every month, every year. So like I said, it's the same thing when people talk about millennials and talk about different things. I think you have to go with the times and where businesses are going. It's funny because in my space, when I generate leads for certain clients and I go the recommendation route and I use a bot to do that, there's some businesses that I met that are like, is that ethical? Like, do I want to do that? And I'm like, do you want to play on the same playing field as your other your competitors? Because they're doing that. Right. It's funny. I was talking to a client and he was telling me and this is kind of where the first, and you might speak better to this. He was saying, when you look up my name, there's another company that comes up first. And I looked into it, and that other company has a domain of theirs bought. So they bought the name, but because the company that I had didn't have they had the business name, but this other person had the business name plus the geographic location. So where that person was living and stuff like that. And so it's just like, those are things and new things that people are coming up with to be able to compete. And if you're not going to do that, you're going to lose. Yeah. Like, you are just going to get eaten alive. And I think that's the thing is, you have to be innovative, use AI, and come up with those different type of campaigns.
And see, I don't mind if they do that organically, but I'm going to give everybody a pro tip here. Do not, in Google AdWords, do not advertise on your competitor's name. It's an absolute waste of spend. The bounce rate's like 95% because once they realize they're not on what they were searching for, they're going to go right back to Google and they're going to find what they were looking for, and you just paid for the click. I have clients, literally almost every client says, hey, can we bid on our competitors? So do you want to just give me the cash? Because I'll take it. It's going to do the same result for you. So that's just a pro tip. I had to throw that out there.
No, it's like I said, it's just, that's the whole thing, like with organic and paid. Like I said, there's AI out there, and I think obviously as a business owner, that's the whole reason why you hire a marketing company is like, the one thing that I meet with business owners that I feel like is and you could speak to this too. I have clients that are 7-figure multi-million millionaires, and then I have clients that you could look at and they're like, in a year their business is going to fail. And a lot of times it's because they want to go the cheapest route. And I remember it was actually on Shark Tank, and one of them said it, and it always sticks with me. He said, to grow your business and to be successful, it's not knowing what you know, but it's knowing what you don't know and surrounding yourself with people that can handle that and do that for you. Like I said, you don't have to like social media and you don't have to like these things. Hire someone that does it because that's where things are going. And that's the thing is, if you're a business owner, and I think COVID taught a lot of people this, you can't just be comfortable. It's the same thing that's taught in my business. I always have to network. I always have to be growing because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's the same thing with AI. It's like, look, you don't have to like it or not. It's the way the world is going. Hire someone that can manage it for you so you don't know about it. I mean, that's just the way it is.
But learn it. Like my friend Aaron, so he really strongly brought this up in our RTA meeting a couple weeks ago. And he had just gone and had this whole like mastermind with a guy named John Assaraf, which if you look him up, I mean, the guy's a genius. But they were talking about how AI to use it for your business, and they went over ChatGPT. They had ones that create images for you and all this. He was able to write a book, 3 books, all of his marketing, all of his email marketing, all the images for social media, everything, all the SEO behind it as well. It suggested hashtags and all that. And he did it in 2 hours after he went through this training. He said, that's where the world is going.
Yep.
And if you don't get ahead of it, you're going to get left behind by your competitors.
Yeah.
So you got to use these tools.
100%. You just got to be efficient, and it's about your time and stuff like that. And like I said, I think finding those tools to help you lessen that and give you more time to focus on what you need to do is the most important thing in business.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
Just because I don't know how to use a crane doesn't mean that crane isn't important. In fact, I was driving down here from downtown Phoenix, and there was a crane, moving and, obviously dropping some sort of big cinder block or whatever it was it had. And I was thinking, I don't know how to operate that, but I know it's important. I don't know how to operate ChatGPT quite yet as good as I want to, but I know once I do, I've got a new skill that's going to change my entire business. And,
exactly.
And my partner wrote a book with it.
Yeah.
And he did it, and he got it published on Amazon in a day.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody do it that fast.
Yeah.
And he did it more as a joke than anything, but the fact that he did it, and it's on ChatGPT and how to use it for marketing, check it out. It's Matt Brandenburg's book. I forget what it's called at the moment. But it's like we got to get ahead of this and figure out how we can best do it for our clients, because they're probably not going to be learning this kind of stuff. They're going to be out doing their job and actually providing their product or service. So they're going to rely on people like us to make sure that we're ahead of the game.
Yeah. No, I think that's obviously why they hire us, is that, and that's a huge thing for me, is to be strategy oriented, to think that way for them, right? Mm-hmm. Because like I said, obviously my field, they're plumbers, they're home service-based clients. They don't think that way. They don't want to spend the time like that. They'd rather pay someone to handle that. So I think it is super important. And I think for agency owners, I think it's super important to have that. But I do believe that you still have to have those people to manage those things. But as well, I believe as owners, we should know that firsthand to be able to teach our team to be able to use it as well.
Absolutely.
So I think it's super important for sure.
Yeah, because we have to lead that charge.
Exactly.
Get our people excited about it. So no, this was fun, man. How can people reach out to you, to do your lead gen, your organic lead gen?
Yeah. So my website is fantastic, FANN-tasticmediallc.com. On Facebook, same thing. Or you can reach out to my phone number at 602-881-9067. I have so many different case studies and all different type of clients. And that's the great thing about, as you kind of said it too, especially in this field, when you help grow a business, you become like their best friend. Mm-hmm. They invite you over for me, they invite me over for Christmas. They want me to come over. And I have great relationships with my clients. So that's the great thing, is that, my clients would go to potential client meetings for me and tell them, you need to hire this kid. Yeah. Like, his agency is amazing. And so that's kind of the relationships that I build. So I have case studies, and I can show you results immediately to get you results immediately. And like I said, I'm strategy oriented. So if I can't see a way to be able to generate your results as quickly as I need to, then there'd be no point for me to work with you, because like I said, it's a results-based business. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, this is fun.
No, like I said, I want to keep doing it. I would love to be on again.
Yeah,
sure.
No, we'll do it every couple months.
Yeah.
We always have more things to talk about.
More content. Yeah, for sure.
Hey guys, I know you got a ton out of this. Please share it out. We will have some clips and stuff that'll be coming, but appreciate you tuning in. We will talk to you soon.